Astra Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. In our last episode, we were in Natlan, where we discussed Malwika, the Pyro Archon. In this episode, we're staying in Natlan, but going to a different area, as we talk about Where the Springs Return, the People of the Springs World Quest.
Are you into group travel? Well, take a ride with us to our website, talesofteyvat.com, where adventure awaits. Each episode has its own mysterious page filled with visuals of legend and some scholarly descriptions from Tiff.
While you're on our site, check out our past episodes, seasons, and specials as well.
Finally, feel free to email albedo at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you thought of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Travelers can also feel free to follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat, where you can catch up with us and stay up to date on all things Tots. And you can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch store, where all proceeds go to funding the podcast and the Twink Tank. All right, so we're staying in Natlan this week, but it is just us, no Melty. We miss him so much already.
He's out working on his new musical.
Yes, if you haven't seen Malwika, the Hamilton musical, on Broadway near you.
This time we're going down the shore.
Yes, so today we're going to be talking about the People of the Springs World Quest. Now, for travelers who may not remember, when we got to Natlan, they got rid of story quests for the 5-star characters. This doesn't necessarily proceed and continue in the other nations, but in Natlan, every tribe gets a world quest where they kind of tie in the story of the tribe itself with the main 5-star character from that tribe as well. So instead of having a Mualani story quest, we get the Mualani and People of the Springs World Quest combo. It's like, a meal at McDonald's.
The Tribal Chronicles. Just makes it sound like so much more historical and important.
And like we said, this doesn't necessarily continue on into Nodcry. With Nodcry characters, it does, yes. And what I mean by that is people specifically from Nodcry. So we see that with Lauma and with Flynn's, just as two examples, and Nefer. But we don't see that with other characters that were released with Nodcry who aren't from Nodcry. So like Varka and Lohen both had story quests still. And Durin. I think Durin did too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rhyme and reasoning is. They probably can't really backtrack into some of these other nations and do that. But that's just what we're going into here. And we're going to be talking about the People of the Springs, which is one of the original 3 tribes that were released with Natlan.
That's right. Released in version 5.0.
And as a reminder, the other ones we got at that time were the Children of the Echoes, which is where we get Jilonin and Kachina, and the Scions of the Canopy, which is Kinich and Moika.
Yeah.
We also have our 3 other ones that came later, which, just as a reminder, I know we recapped all of this in the Aoife episode a few back as well, but the Flower Feather clan is Aoife and Chaska, Masters of the Nightwind is Solali and Auroran, and Collective of Plenty, I always want to add the in there. Collective of Plenty is Yansan and Varessa, and a Volcano.
We love that. And AI dragons.
Yes, many AI dragons on the volcano that still continues trying to kill you.
Yes.
As you're running around getting those weird resources.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to be focusing in on the People of the Springs, which is a very carefree Jersey Shore vibe town. Not really Jersey Shore, but that's what we know best here at Tales of Teyvat.
It's way more chill than the Jersey Shore.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, chiller than Pauly D, but there's certain areas that are calmer. But yeah, this is more like an island area. They're very well known for their parties, their music, dancing, water sports of the appropriate kind, and hot springs.
Yeah, they love their hot springs. But you know what else? You know what you can find over at their hot springs? I didn't know if you knew this, but there's an extension of the hot spring spa from Inazuma over in there.
There's a hot springs extension site.
Yes.
Oh my god, is this the Thousand Winds Temple? How dare they?
The Thousand Springs Temple.
No.
It still cracks me up that we did not notice. We didn't stop and read the sign, basically. We're just like, oh, look, that's the little guy from, what's her name? I'm like, no, it's actually is.
Wait, so I don't actually know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is this from like, what's it called? Like the spa?
Yeah, it's Mizuki.
Yeah.
Mizuki has I'm sorry, I totally, as if everybody knew what was going on inside my brain. We talked about it in one of the last few episodes too, where Mizuki is setting up shop for an extension of her spa.
Oh, yes.
And her dream eating over in the People of the Springs. And when Fiends and I went by, we're like, this looks like Mizuki's little friend. And oh, look at this and look at this. And we're like investigating like we were like Sherlock Holmes, just to then read the sign that it was an extension site. It was like, she's franchising.
Vanessa once said to me, you read with the same eyes you read lore with. And she's always right in all moments of Genshin life.
It was the shade that keeps on shading.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the People of the Springs, there's really 3 characters that like you might know from current day. From past time, we got Tupac. But from current day, 3 people, 2 who are going to be important in this quest. We have Chief Amina, Mualani, and Atia. So if you remember, Atia is our character who dies during the Archon quest with a vision. She was really the first time.
Dead bitch.
It's a dead bitch who liked the hot springs. But she is very important to Chief Amina, who is our young, very young child chief. And Chief Amina, her grandfather basically died, so, more death. And prior to the Archon quest and the war against the Abyss, she was there already. And when her grandfather died, all the elders of the tribe voted her in and said, you're next. So they skipped her parents, whoever they may be.
Can we just stop there for a moment, though? These elders looked at the rest of the population and said, this child is better than the rest of you.
It was something about her.
She's serious.
But also that she was full of ideas. Like she always had like fresh ideas that really seemed like they would make positive impact. And
but that means that she's still a child, and everybody else in that village sucks balls and couldn't be the leader.
Listen, like we said in our last episode, when you grow up in war, there is no childhood. And I mean it, like we talked about that with Hine, it was like, yeah, my sister's going to go become the Archon and she's going to also yeet herself into the future and I'm never going to see her again. And that is just the life that I have to fucking live. And that's Amina.
I mean, at least they didn't try to use her body as a soul vessel like Aurora.
Well, yeah.
She just got the Hu Tao treatment. Hu Tao's grandfather died and she became like the head of the funeral home.
Yeah.
Amina was like, okay, I'll step in as the chief.
When duty calls, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But Chief Amina does say that Atia was like a mentor to her when she first became the chief and that she was a lot of help in getting her to feel like she was good at what she was doing. And the other character that we're going to hang out a lot with this episode is Miss Mualani herself. She is from the People of the Springs and her family own a shop here that they really have no cares about. They leave that shop open when no one is attending it. And they just rely on people to leave Mora on the table basically when they pick items up.
Well, apparently they're rich.
Yeah.
Apparently they are rich.
Paimon, at least.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminds me, since we're talking about the Jersey Shore, when you're down there, there's a lot of, we are the Garden State. So in a lot of the places you'll be driving around, there's just little farm stands. And I'm sure that this happens everywhere, but there's little farm stands and it's a lot of times it's just leave the money in the bucket and take what you want.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little like reminder that sometimes people don't suck.
But it's wild that they do that in the same little village where people are getting scammed.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And also like in an area that was like so destroyed by the Abyss. Like I'm sure like terrible things have been happening there. But whatever. I guess, if I lose some Mora on a surfboard versus the Abyss killing my whole family, tomato, am I right? Like, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But Mualani, one thing just to know about her, besides the fact that she is one of the heroes of Natlan, she was one of our people who helped Moeka during the Archon quest. She is most well known in her tribe as being a guide. And in the People of the Springs, guides are a big thing, and they are people who take you around and show you around. They're kind of like like you're like if you're a tourist and you're in a touring group, like she's your leader. She's like, I will be your tour guide today. Except she can like kill baddies and try to deal with Saurians and things that normal people might not be able to do. And she is considered part of the new generations of guides in the area. I thought it was unclear if there were guides in the other tribes or just in the people of the Springs, but minimally that's what she's doing here.
Yeah, it seemed like kind of their thing. It seemed like because if you were anywhere in Natlan, you might go to the people of the Springs for vacation. Like you're not going to the volcano that's going to try and throw rocks on your head. You're going to go to the beach and hang out at the hot springs. So like I think it's kind of like almost like their touristy type of feel. At least that was my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, definitely. So I almost like felt like outside of Mualani, these were the people that would like, you'd call and be like, I want to go on a ghost tour.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay. And then like we got there and I was like, oh, this is not the case. This is I would like to like find myself in a precariously deadly situation. Please and thank you. Protect me.
Or if you just want to have a beach bum party, everybody's dancing on the beach. No cares. Abyss coming all over the place, hanging out with sharks. They're just like, whatever.
What did Viramdra say at one point? He was like, what are the rules for this party? I was like, okay, sir. But the tribal quests, they are divided up into 3 acts, all of them. One is really short, one is kind of short, and the other one is decently okay long. It's like they're building you into it.
Yeah.
So our first act here is those searching for the mysterious island. Ooh, which was very misleading because there is a mysterious floating island that is not involved in this at all.
It's like, just look up.
I can remember doing this quest and being so excited and being like, this is going to bring me to those waypoints that I cannot reach. And then it was like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, especially when you're doing the spirit ways later.
Yeah, you're like, yes, this is my time. And it was like, here's a vortex. I'm like, no. But anyway, so we show up to the people of the Springs. By we, I mean Traveler and Paimon. And Paimon is like, we should go take some pictures with baby Colosaurs. And I'm like, girl, what? Just let them vibe. And then we turn around and we see some adult Colosaurs attacking 2 Sumeran scholars that we later learn are Viramdra and Karya, his junior. So of course, Traveler does what Traveler does best and saves the 2 scholars. And Viramdra seems really annoyed that all the Saurians ran off because he needs to capture one alive.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if he said he was trying to capture one and kill it and put it on the wall. Like you think like Paimon would have just been like, shoot him now. Kill him.
Kill him. Burn him with fire.
And he's so desperate to capture a Koholosaur alive that he's like, can you do it? You can use me as bait. And Karya is like visibly embarrassed by how desperate he is.
Mm-hmm. And I don't remember if it's Traveler or Paimon, but they're like, I'm not really comfortable using a human as bait. That's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, I think it's Paimon. She's like, this isn't the kind of science experiment that we're doing today. No. But as much as he's like this desperate, like weirdo kind of rude dude, Karya is like the complete opposite. She's like this polite, very thankful, very nice, soft-spoken, sorry, my boss is a dick kind of vibe.
Yeah, like, don't mind him.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically like, he's too wrapped up in his research to think straight, like, type of thing. They said that about Dodoray.
I know, I'm like, she does seem very much like a Viramdra apologist right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yes, she's lost in the sauce.
Yes, and as the quest goes on, you're just like, this lady's a doormat.
Yeah, absolutely. So they explain to us that they are searching for a mysterious island that comes from a legend here in the People of the Springs, and that they, from their research and understanding, aka Viramdra's research, because he's the only one who apparently can touch a book, he was told that there's a hint to finding this island on the back of the Colosaur. And that's why he was trying to get a Colosaur and get so close to it, despite being a scholar with no fighting experience.
Yep, they didn't really plan ahead well.
Not at all. And this experience, we later find out, was very traumatizing for Karya, mind you.
Yeah.
So they continue and they tell us that the key to Viramdra's research is going to be up on this island. whatever this research is, we do not know. Just the key is going to be there, similar to Dawn being the key in Buffy. So we refuse to use him as bait, but Paimon is now intrigued because treasure could be involved. And what brightens Paimon's eyes more than food or Mora, I do not know. So we decide to go talk with Chief Amina.
And that's when Act 2 starts, right?
Yeah, I felt like the Act 2 was like, I couldn't tell if this was the start or us going to deal with scammers was the start. It was like
I know.
a blurred gray line.
I think it's when it starts when we go talk to the chief, because this game does that a lot where it's like it'll start an act of a quest and we don't realize it because we're in the middle of like a really long dialogue thing. And then it's once the long dialogue ends, it'll pop up that thing that's like Act 2, the legend of the mysterious island begins or whatever it says.
Yeah.
It like we get that notification that the quest has started, but like you're always like, so did it just start or did it already start? And it's just now notifying me that it started.
And without spoiling anything, that was exactly how I felt during the latest Archon quest in Sumeru. I was like, I don't even know how many parts there were.
I know.
I just did it. Like I was all of a sudden it was 4 a.m. And I was like, what day is it?
You're like, I became Hypatia.
Literally. And I'm like live tweeting B the whole time. Because at the time that I finished it, Tiff hadn't finished it. So I'm like live tweeting him my reactions. I'm sending him pictures. I'm like, who the fuck is this? At like 3 a.m. Brendan's like, go to fucking bed. But anyway, my sleep schedule aside, we go to talk to Chief Amina and we're like, hey girl, we're really interested in learning more about a mysterious island. And she's kind of like, sigh, you too. And so she does tell us a little bit about the legend and says that, you know, the first chief of the people of the Springs was an excellent guide. And he actually had gone searching for this island. He had also heard it through rumor mills and whatnot. And he wanted to find it and its golden light and treasure. And that once he did find it, he came back and he ended up quitting adventuring, quitting treasure hunting, and he founded the People of the Springs officially.
By the way, I love it that she's telling us this legend of the mysterious island, but really the legend is that the first chief went to look for a legendary island. So like the island was already legendary in the legend.
Yeah.
Legendception.
Yes.
I want to know who first came up with the legend of the island because we never really find out where the chief heard about this from.
Yeah, like who was in the People of the Springs before the People in the Springs?
Exactly. Yeah.
I especially want to know because plot twist, it's not a fucking island. So who was telling him that there was an island out there? Because joke's on you, sir. I'm in a cave system.
Yeah.
I went splunking again in this fucking game. But Amina continues and tells us that, you know, after the chief found the island, he actually went back and left some crumbs behind for future travelers and future guides of the area so that they could try and find the mysterious island as well. She then informs us that the clues that he left behind are actually very available to the public. It's like walking, you know, in Boston, they have like the historical markers on the ground that you can follow. It's like that. It's like, ooh, I'm here now. Ooh.
Like a guided tour.
Yeah, like a guided tour, but you shouldn't need a person, but you do need a person. But she'll actually show us how to find these clues. We just have to, you know, do her a favor first because we're not trying to find our sibling or a mysterious island.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the clues are already known to the public, but she won't tell us what they are until we do her a favor, which is like we could have just asked someone else.
Yeah.
We could have asked someone else. We could have found our sibling. There's a lot of things we could have done in that time.
We're very accommodating to people.
Yes, and not ourselves. Selfless in the highest regard. So Amina tells us that she's heard that there are people going around claiming to be guides. And they are scamming tourists, saying that they're going to bring them to this mysterious island, but they aren't actually bringing people to a mysterious island, and they're scamming the shit out of them. So we're asked to go undercover. It's like undercover boss. We put on a wig. No. We go normally because the scammers most likely won't recognize us, which, you know, just to pause on that. Am I not the hero of Natlan?
Well, as long as you did the quest first.
Yeah,
You
that's
weren't.
true. Yeah, like, did this change afterwards? Did I have to put on my Fatui mask?
Because I'm pretty sure that this was the first thing I did, so it made sense that nobody knew who the hell I was.
But if you finished Natlan,
Yeah, if you finish Natlan and then do your
That's
Tribal
when the wig
Chronicles,
goes on.
it's a little bit weird.
By the way, I was just watching The Price is Right earlier,
Oh,
and this old lady like gets to play one of the games and she wins it and she gets so excited she rips her own wig off and throws it on the floor.
oh my
She
God.
just like screeches like ah, like pulls her wig off of her head, slams it onto the floor, and is like screaming and jumping up and down.
Oh my God.
And then there's like the shot of like just the wig and the wig cap on the floor, and Drew Carey's just like staring at it.
That's
It
kind of
was
the
amazing.
moment where you're like, I wish Steve Harvey was there. Like, his face would have been excellent in that moment.
Mhm.
I just had to share.
I know, it's perfect because we're going to borrow that wig off the floor now and
Mhm.
put it on, apparently. So she basically is like, no one's going to know who you are. So can you pretend to be a tourist so the scammers won't recognize you and get scammed, basically? And if there's nothing I enjoy more than being scammed.
Mhm. She's like, here's a pouch of money. You can go figure it out.
Get scammed on, girl.
Yeah. Which is funny because like we just had Viramdra being like, I'll be the bait. And now we're like, hey, we'll be the bait.
Yeah, at least this is safe.
Yeah.
Safe bait.
Yeah, we're not feeding ourselves to wildlife, just to feeding ourselves to scammers.
Not
Yeah.
yet, at least. So we, get our tourist on and we go to this known location by Amina of where the scammer should be. And Paimon pretty much yells, let's see if anyone around here looks like a scammer. And I'm like, Paimon.
Yeah.
We give Paimon the look, and Paimon's like, oh shit, you right. And so we start to talk to each other a little louder than we normally would about a mysterious island and how we're hoping to find it. And this lures in a scammer. Koolau? Is that what we're going with? K-A, just Koolau?
Yeah, I don't know because I don't think we ever heard it out loud. I don't know if it's Kaulu. Kaulu sounds good. I would go with that.
If we're pronouncing it wrong, please just let us know in the comments. So Koolau comes over and is like, hey. And he starts scamming. He's like, you want to go to the island? I'm a qualified guide. I can take you there. And best off, it's going to be totally free. No
Mhm.
charge. I'm just doing it to make sure that you stay safe. Did you know that these clues are actually available to the public, but only seasoned guides like myself can properly solve the riddles needed to get through the clues and get to the island? So you kind of sort of need me.
Mhm.
And Paimon is like, man, he's good. And I'm like, okay, so Paimon is easy to get scammed, would join cults.
Yeah.
Like, where else? Like, would be lured in by serial killer.
She's kind of brought us to a few cults.
True. And I've enjoyed those cults, unfortunately for me.
I think there's a reason why she loves detective stories so much.
Yeah.
She probably like momentarily forgets like what she already knows.
Yeah.
I wish she learned from her detective stories, though. So we end up going with Koolau, and he introduces us to Keho.
The best is like he brings us over there and KO immediately is like, hey, you want a picture? And Cool is like, don't be jumping on this. Like, I got some people to scam here.
Mhm.
Don't go try and sell a picture.
So Keho is introduced to us as a handler of Atta, a Saurian, an elder Saurian at that. And this elder Saurian is going to be able to give us the instructions we need to find this mysterious island. But there's a few clauses that go into this. One, to get that close to Atta, it's going to cost 10k more per person. And that's just because like getting close to Atta can like really do a lot to her mental health. And she's older and all that money goes to making sure that she has the proper health care. But don't worry, we'll also give you a photo op while you're there. We also are told that Atta is going to speak in a mysterious language that only Koolau will be able to understand and translate for us. And then once he
Yeah.
gets that information, we'll be able to find the island.
And I think he's basically like, yeah, I speak grunt. I speak Dino Grunt.
And I'll throw in the picture for free.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, for free, it's 10K a person. But we have the money, so we give it up.
And Paimon comes up with this brilliant idea of asking for a receipt.
Yes, she was so smart in that moment.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her. And they're like, yeah, no problem. And they give us a receipt, and Koolau gets the information we need from Atta, and we go on our way. So we continue to follow Koolau, and we're gathering more and more evidence, and we're spending more money, and we're getting more receipts from him. And we're like, this is the moment. Like, we could tell him right now that he's scamming us, or we could see how far this goes. We decide to see how far this goes because we've got the receipts already. So he brings us to an island across some water, and he goes, I've found this shortcut. If we cross the water, we'll be right where Atta's insights were pointing us. And we get to this island, and we're like, bro, what is this? It's like so fake.
Yeah, there's like wooden signs, and it's like falling apart. Like it looks like that little maze you go through in the little summertime retreat where like all the little like wooden guys are like hanging out and talking to you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm like, was this a fever dream? Did this actually happen?
And like the worst part too is like, we're told there's gonna be golden light, but instead there's artificial light.
Yeah.
And there's a big lack of treasure, which Paimon is pissed about. Now, before we go into our reaction to this, I just want to say one thing about Koolau, which is I think he's stupid, which is I think is something you would just know anyway. He's stupid. But he tells us that he knows a shortcut to Atta's insights. So first off, how do you know where Atta is bringing us if you're following her insights? Secondly, if you've done this before and you have brought people to the quote-unquote mysterious island, why we even have to go to Atta? It doesn't move. It's in the same place. So you acting like this like notorious, smart, seasoned adventurer who can do this, it's fucked from the beginning, truly.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated that. When I had this realization in the moment when he was like, I know a shortcut to the insights. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Like, I'm so glad that you found a shortcut to the place you've been to 10,000 times.
Yeah, that we had to go get a Saurian's insights on.
Uh-huh.
Well, what's really depressing is that this apparently has worked on a bunch of tourists before.
Yeah.
And it worked on us until he said shortcut. In my head, I was like, wait a second, what the fuck? But when we get to this very fake island, Paimon is appalled. And he's like, listen, I never told you there'd be treasure or anything crazy here. And that's when like Paimon rips off the wig, just like the girl on The Price is Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she throws it on the ground, wig cap and all. And she's like, you're a scam artist. And that's why we've been getting receipts. And you're fucked. And he goes, hee, you're fucked. Look at your receipts. And he has used disappearing ink.
Which is like, you motherfucker. I can't believe that you... Like, I was mad at that point. Like, I know that he was scamming us and everything. But, like, the fact that he used disappearing ink, and then he's like, and everybody's name was fake. I was like, how dare you? I'm appalled.
Yeah, he's like, you have no proof. And then he like tries to run away.
He literally is like, I'm leaving. And Amina's like, no, you won't.
Yeah. Little girl Amina and her guards show up.
We find out that the chief has had people following us this whole time. And she searches him and she finds the money we gave him, which we didn't know was marked.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all of our marked money. And Amina basically looks at him and goes, you having this marked Mora means one of two things. One, you're a scammer. Or two, you robbed these people of their money.
Which has a worse punishment than scamming and basically forces him to confess to scamming.
Paimon was so impressed by Amina in that moment.
Yeah. I was too. I was like, that's clever. Maybe you can be a chief.
She's a great chief. I mean, people love her. They listen to her. And like, have you ever noticed that all of the events are there? Like, if we're not at the arena, I feel like we're always doing things at the People for the Springs. Like, we've thrown many parties over there. We've had the lock How Up over there a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You are more likely to find people hanging out with Mualani there than Mualani hanging out with them in their own tribes.
Right.
We go swimming. But anyway, so once the scam artist is taken care of, we go and talk to Amina now about the island. And she's like, listen, like, there's this one condition that I didn't tell you about beforehand in order to get to this island. And it is a condition that has made it very hard for people to get there. You will have to be with people that you trust with your life.
I like that if you were telling this to be, you could have just stopped with, you would have to be with people.
Brandon,
I'd be like,
people all the time.
I can't do it.
wait, Brandon, you don't think you'd go on this pilgrimage with us to the island?
No, I mean, listen, I can be around people, but like hot weather and the sun and like water, I don't think so.
You wouldn't want to find a treasure and golden light?
I would love to find treasure, but I don't think it's worth the sunburn.
All right. So Brandon will not be choosing to risk his life with us, which is fine. It's okay.
I got a sunburn in Toronto walking in the sun for 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
You
and
are
it was
very white.
bad. It was like a bad sunburn.
That's a long time to be in the sun, Brandon, with no sunblock, though.
But it wasn't like even full, like 10 minutes straight. You know what I mean? It was like...
Okay. Different story then. I thought you were outside, like, in the sun for 10 minutes. All right.
It was ridiculous.
And you went further away from the equator than you normally are, and you still got sunburned.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, man.
It's supposed to be like not as potent up there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, I know I would not be going to any islands with you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We wouldn't be going to an island, but a cave system instead anyway.
That's true. That's true. Now, see, I would go underground into a cave.
But it's hot down there. There's a lot of lava.
Yeah, I would not like the lava either.
I will say that I did a story quest today, and I won't say much about who it was or what happened in it, but the character was sweating. I've never seen them like make a character sweat that hardcore before. I was like, yo, what is happening? They said animations will give you sweat. I was like, okay. Thanks, Genshin. Thanks, Hoyo. This is not really what I wanted, but
I feel like in Sumeru was when we first got people crying, and now wherever you are now is where we're getting sweat.
yeah, Kale crying makes me want to cry. Like, I never thought animated tears would make me cry so hard. Or I should say video game animated tears, because I've definitely cried. No, that's a fucking lie. I've cried for all animated tears. I take it all back. I'm like Kingdom Hearts, Fruits Basket. I've cried for a lot of things. Lilo and Stitch. But so anyway, Amina is like, to overcome this one barrier and condition, you have to go with people who you're close to and you would trust your life with. And I'd also have to send you with a qualified guide, just because you're not from this area. And because of that, I don't really know if you know a guide that well. And the traveler and Paimon lock eyes. And they're like, Mualani. And Amina's like, well, I guess you have your mind made up for you, and good luck with Mualani.
Good luck and best wishes.
Don't die. So this starts Act 3, which is our longest act. The journey to the mysterious island that is not really an island that you have to go spelunking to. I'm going to rename these quests to make them appropriate, proper, and correct.
Give them a proper length.
Yes.
For this game.
Just like all the books.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to find Mualani, and Mualani is working at her shop for once. They have not left it unattended, and she is helping a customer who is looking for black floaters, which we assume are like floating devices.
Yeah, like swimmies. That's what they're called, right? Swimmies?
Well, I don't know if he's looking for like the swimmies that go on your arm, or if he's looking for like a tube. Like, that's why I thought floaters was their like generic term for air devices in the water.
Yeah, and he got a black hat on, black shades. He's like, I gotta stay in my cool goths at the beach look.
Did you not think that this was just a guy from the Spina de la Rosa on vacation?
Yeah, it looked like.
That was my first thought. Except, like, he really had a tan going. So I was like, I don't know. Like, but he could have been here for a while. And Mualani is having a conversation with him where she basically explains that black floaters provide bad luck. And they have terrible side effects, like getting bitten by bugs more often and all this jazz. And the guy is like, oh my God, I have had bad luck. And a Koholosaur bit the floater. And I've definitely got mosquito bites. Holy shit, what should I do? And she sells him on buying like some colorful ones instead that have better side effects, apparently.
Blue and pink ones, they're much more lucky.
It seems odd, right? The logic is odd of like the black ones attracting bugs, but the blue and pink ones not. Like, what do you think bugs would be attracted to the colors of flowers?
I think she just didn't have black floaties, and she was just trying to convince him why he needed the blue and pink
very
ones.
Convincing, yeah.
Well, I will say too, like Mualani is very much about trusting her instincts. And we learn that like she'll fight a little bit with our new dear friend Viramdra later on about logic versus instinct a lot. And so I almost feel like this is like Mualani being like, I've witnessed these things happen to people who have black flotation devices. And the people with pink and blue ones, they have more fun. So have more fun.
Yeah, it's very a little woo-woo or something. It's like the blue and pink ones are creating it's almost like a magical kind of effect. Whereas, so I mean, I guess it does sort of tie into the rest of the thing, because it is ultimately it becomes more like logic versus custom. Like tried and true customs, I guess.
Yeah, inherited customs and like generational like thoughts.
Which I hate, by the way. I hate the moral of this quest, but anyway. But I also hate Viramdra, so.
I felt like I ignored the moral that was like trust your elders, and really more so went with the moral of like trust your friends. Find people you can trust.
Yeah.
And trust your gut. I felt like trust your gut was like a good one, because sometimes you just end up in a situation. You're like, maybe I gotta go. But then sometimes you're a person who's like, I'm gonna trust my gut and go in. And that's not good either. So, use all means, guys, when you're out in dangerous situations. But once Mualani convinces this guy to buy some pretty flotation devices, she's like, oh my god, traveler! And we basically tell her, like, hey, we want you to be our guide to go to the mysterious island. Which, the mysterious island has no name. And that really started to aggravate me at this point. Because all I'm reading over and over again is mysterious island, mysterious island, mysterious island. So she is like, man, I'm just going to let you know now that is a very difficult trip. And I know that despite the fact that I haven't made it there before. There are many, many, many skilled guides who have not been able to complete this journey, including my mentor, Uncle New.
Who she says at the time, like when she's telling us this, she says Uncle New is the best guide in the tribe. And then we find out a little later that, wait, are you sure?
Because when we hear that Uncle New hasn't made it, we're like, okay, so no guides have made it. Yeah. But that's not quote unquote the case at that moment. So she does though admit, she's like, I cannot guarantee that we will make it there, but we can try. And she decides that maybe we should go and talk to Uncle New before we go on this adventure. So we get there. And this is when we run into Koolau, not to be confused with Koolau. And Koolau or Cthulhu or a hound who wishes he was Cthulhu in every way possible. And Koolau has just returned from a travels, and Mualani explains that he is one of the top-ranked guides, and that he is apparently the only person she knows of, besides the first chief of this tribe, to make it to the mysterious island.
Yeah, and she even says that he's currently ranked as the #1 guide in the People of the Springs. And I was like, but you just told us Uncle New is the best guide in the tribe. And so I realized, okay, so being ranked #1 doesn't mean you're the best. So she obviously is thinking shady thoughts about him.
I also thought that maybe Uncle New was like more on the retired side, where like he wouldn't necessarily be ranked high, but his like institutional knowledge would still be high.
But I just love too that like he's like, look, I have these rare crystals. I obviously came from the mysterious island.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
And this is why I'm kind of like, I don't give a fuck about Koolau and his like #1 rating, because he's a cocky motherfucker and I don't want to deal with him. And he refuses to give advice to anyone, according to Mualani.
Yeah.
So while we're kind of like shit talking Koolau, we see Karya and Viramdra, the Sumeran scholars we've helped in Act 1 of this quest, going up to Koolau and being like, hey, will you take us to the mysterious island? And he's like, nah. I'm like, nah? What do you mean, nah?
Tells him he's gonna be dead weight. Like, I ain't taking you with me.
Yes, he says, while the legend says you really should go with people that you would trust with your lives, I think it's really suggesting that you should only go with people that are capable of protecting themselves. Otherwise, you risk the life of the guide on the journey. And I'm like, wow, you must have had some fucked up elder trauma.
Yeah.
Like, you clearly do not have a good mentor here.
But he's basically like, that's why I went alone. I'm the only one I can trust. It's like, well, Amina said you have to go with people. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, he thinks that requirement of going with people you trust is just to weed out the people who can't make the trip on their own.
Yes.
And he thinks that they're going to end up giving up halfway through the journey, so it won't even be worth his time, basically.
And he sees Mualani and he goes, go with her instead.
And throws major shade at her for following in Uncle New's footsteps, and basically accuses them both of being bad guides.
Which leads to an argument between Koolau and Mualani. And when we're like, yo, are you okay, Mualani? She's like, Uncle New has fought with him over the same thing. We're like, oh, so everyone hates this guy. Got it. All the people that matter, because I only trust people that Mualani trusts in this region. And therefore, I don't trust him. And he's cocky.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
So Mualani does say that she's willing to take this trip with us as long as we understand it's going to be a lot of work and we, might not actually make it to the island. And when we agree, she group hugs us. And then Viramdra and Karya walk over and they're like, hey, can we come with you?
Also, it's so cute when she hugs Paimon. She's like, bring it in, Paimon. And then Paimon blushes, like literally her cheeks turn red. It was really cute. I just thought it was like a cute little, does she have a big girl crush on her? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like a little innocent crush.
It's definitely possible. I mean, Paimon is a sweetheart.
But also, no one ever hugs Paimon.
We do.
Yeah, besides us.
I mean, no one ever hugs me. No, that's a lie. Everyone hugs us. No one ever helps me find my sibling outside of Amber and Mia.
I know. At least Amber tried with those flyers.
But anyway, Viramdra and Karya come up and they're like, hey, can we come with you? And Mualani's like, I don't really know you. And in order to go on this journey, I have to bring people I trust with my life and vice versa. And I don't know if you trust me. I don't know if I can trust you. And he's like, well, what if instead we travel with you, but not under you? So you don't really have to be in charge of us in that way. And Mualani's like, no, that's not my style. If you're going to be near me on these journeys, you're going to be with me and I will be here to protect you and guide you. And he's like, ugh, fuck that. I'll just go by myself. And Mualani's like, you can't do that and say that to a guide because now I'm going to be thinking about you being in danger. So you know what? Tomorrow we're going to spend some time together. And within that time we spend together, I will learn to trust you with my life and you will learn to trust me with your life.
Spoiler alert. That's not what happened.
Yeah. I love that her plan is we're going to fall in love with each other, friendship.
Yeah. We're going to fall in friend
amazing.
love tomorrow.
Yeah.
In the 10 minutes it takes before we leave to go on this trip.
So we leave the scholars and we tell them we'll meet them tomorrow. And we go with Mualani to finish preparations for the journey. Preparations for the journey include spending 200,000 mora on camping gear, which Mualani claims is just a week's worth of pocket money.
And Paimon is like, are you rich, Mualani? And Mualani's just like, that's not important, and changes the subject.
I was like, girl, where's your house?
So we're all like, yeah, she rich.
She rich.
Did you also notice when before they buy the camping gear, they go to the fishing shop and they talk to the owner whose name is Yellowfath, but Mualani just calls her Lafa because it's so much cuter.
So much cuter.
Yeah.
And Yellowfath is just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. First she tells her, though, that's not how you pronounce my name. And then she's like, well, you're the customer, so whatever.
I think she liked it.
Oh, and I think I made a mistake because that was the first shop they go to.
Yes. It looks like a fishing shop, but it's just an outdoor shop.
Yellowfath is like, if you're going to pay me 200K mora for the most raggedy tent you've ever seen, you can call me whatever you want, babe.
Literally. And then after we find out Mualani's secret finance situation, we go and buy a travel-sized record player and a rare record that only the store manager at the record store has been able to listen to. And Mualani says that according to a friend of hers at the Masters of the Nightwind, the one song that's on this record is really good for keeping people safe at night when they're out camping.
I like, though, that she says to the guy, hey, I know you know which record I want. And he's like, I haven't even finished listening to it yet. And she's like, that's okay. I'm buying it.
For 20,000 mora.
Oh my God.
And Paimon's like, yep, she's rich.
So then Mualani is like, there's one more thing we have to do. We have to go get a copy of the map from Uncle New. And she explains to us that the map that is basically the clues open to the public has been passed down from generation to generation within the tribes. And that basically anytime a mentor has a mentee interested in learning it, they pass the map down to them. And we go over to Uncle New to ask for the map. And Mualani's like, Uncle New, I have a surprise for you. And he's like, you're here for the map? She's like, how did you know? And he's like, well, I knew it would happen one day. And you're the best guide of your generation. And since I can't pass down any wisdom about the trip since I haven't gone myself, I'm going to give you a talisman to help keep you safe. And he hands us a talisman. It was just very cute, I thought.
Yeah.
And he also provides her with the map.
And when she sees the talisman, she's like, is this made with spinel fruit? It doesn't look like a normal spinel fruit. And he's like, yes. Very mysteriously doesn't say more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next morning, we go up and meet with Karya, Mualani, and Viramdra at a statue. And Mualani explains that this statue is in memory of the first tribe chief and who, made it to the island and created the people of the springs. And she basically says the first thing we need to do is touch this statue and pray to our elders to get us to the island safe.
And Dickhead's like, is there a scientific basis behind this?
And she's like, just do it. And Nike. And he's like, well, that's not going in my notes.
Yeah, he's like, I can't include that in my thesis if there's no empirical basis.
So we pray and we go to the first clue location, which is this like valley-esque area where we see a bunch of colosaurs together. And Mualani explains that, typically colosaurs don't travel in herds. However, they do gather in herds in this specific valley where the clue is supposed to be during this season. She's not really sure why. She thinks that they like to party it up there at this time in the year. And we're trying to figure out how we can get in there to get to the clue. And Karya is very worried about going in and having to walk around the Kolulasaurs after being attacked by them. So we do leave her behind. And later on, we also leave Viramdra behind.
Mm-hmm.
But so we go and we start kind of checking things out, seeing what we can do. And Viramdra's like, so we're going to kill them, right? And Mualani's like, girl, no, that's not what we're going to do. And Karya does give us a little bit of information before we leave her, telling us that Saurians have a really keen sense of smell. And Mualani's like, oh, that makes sense. We probably smell so different than a Saurian. But if we go over to this ironically perfectly planted plant, and we put the scent of the plant on us, we will actually smell just like a Koholosaur.
Just rub these leaves all over your body.
What are the odds that the perfect plant was just right there? But whatever.
Maybe that's why the Koholosaurus smells the way that they do, is because of the plants.
Because that's where they party with the plant.
Yeah.
It's their weed. Got it.
I mean, Paimon says it's wet and slimy. It doesn't sound like a good time.
Don't put them in the shower.
Oh no. Because also Koholosaurs are high as shit.
You're all high as shit. They're going to think you are a dragon breathing fire on them. But so Paimon, Mualani, and Traveler go in and we're able to kind of run around and get around the Saurians. And we're like, so Mualani, can you understand what they're saying? And she's like, no one can understand a Koholosaur. They're a Saurian. And we're like, what the fuck? Total lies. We were scammed to this day still. And we go and we see that there's this graphic that is there. And Mualani's like, I've never seen that there before. It must only come out when the Koholosaurs are around. So she quickly copies down the pattern on a piece of paper for us to later decipher. We go back and we meet up with Viramdra and Karya. And as Mualani is looking at her drawing, she realizes that this area is actually Jade Skirt Knoll. And she says that based off what she's looking at, the land and sea borders are being recreated. And she suggests that we should go to that area, which I was like, wow, she's a genius. I would have never gotten that.
Conveniently genius.
She sounds like she'd be really good in an escape room.
Yeah.
If the escape room was in that part of Natlan,
Yeah.
for sure. With an included color changing moss.
I forgot it was moss.
Yeah.
So stupid. She's like, the algae is speaking to me. I'm like, okay, Ariel.
She's like, I feel like I think we need to build a reflecting pool.
Oh, no. And that's when you see me defacing it. I don't even have to. It's going to deface itself. So we go over to the Jade Skirt Knoll. And Mualani's like, based off the map and based off of the drawing from earlier, there should be a mechanism here on the water, but she can't find it. And this is when Viramdra is actually helpful. And he's like, ooh, I think this is a spirit way. And Mualani was like, well, I was thinking that too, but it doesn't seem like a typical spirit way. He goes, no, a spirit way placed by the dragons many, many years ago. I've read about them. They're a thing. We just have to find a node. And Mualani's like, actually, what you're saying, Viramdra, makes sense. I actually think I remember Uncle New mentioning this before. And Viramdra is like, we just have to look around for devices left by the dragons that use phlogiston to control the spirit waves. So we search, and we have two names for this, depending on who you talk to. Some people in our party call them dragon spirit doors, and others call them phlogiston nodes, because it sounds better for their research. Cough, cough, Viramdra. So there are 3 nodes we end up finding, and as we get closer to the nodes, they light up, and we split up to find the other 2. Once we find all 3, we try to figure out how to control the nodes, and we realize very quickly that someone will have to be next to the node at all times to turn them on and off. Otherwise, whoever's riding the spirit wave will fall down. We asked Viramdra if he thinks he can control them, but he fails, and Karya's like, well, if he can't do it, I can't do it. I was like, girl, try. But she doesn't.
Yeah.
Mualani is able to control it and says it's a little harder to operate than a normal spirit way, but the traveler offers to do it while Mualani surfs the spirit waves to gain access to the island. And of course, we succeed. As soon as we finish lighting up all the spirit waves, because when I said succeed, I don't mean to say that we found an island. We just got all the spirit waves lit up. We noticed that the nodes aren't lighting up anymore, and they seem unstable and need to recharge, according to Viramdra. We really don't know how long that's going to take. And so we look around to see if anything is different. And that's when the water starts rippling and the weather gets really weird. And we see a whirlpool. And Mualani goes, we need to go into the whirlpool. And Viramdra's like, girl, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No. He's like, that's very dangerous. What is your scientific proof that is what we need to do? And she explains that this has to be the way because based off everything we just did with the spirit ways and everything on this map, that's where we have to be. And Viramdra decides to be a know-it-all who mansplains to Mualani why we shouldn't be going into the vortex. And we decide that we're going to split up and that we're going to leave Viramdra and Karya and we're just going to go check out the vortex. We're not going to go into it. We're just going to go give a little look and see if it's going to be safe for us to kind of ease Viramdra's mind.
And he's making a good point, but his delivery of it is so annoying and rude. And he's basically throwing a tantrum. Mualani has to basically be like, shut up. Like, we're not splitting up. Because at first he's like, well, y'all can go do that and we'll go do this other thing. And she's like, no, like, stop being a little bitch and like chill out for a second. We'll go try this and you can just wait here while we try it. And we'll just see if it works before we all go in or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I did just want to say he does make a good point. Like, it's probably not always the best idea to just jump into a whirlpool.
I mean, it is a good thing to live your life by. You don't go chasing waterfalls. You don't go jumping in whirlpools.
But at least have the patience with the people you're with to like let them investigate it and try it first.
Yeah, let the person who's been pretty good at like guiding you so far like prove themselves.
Exactly, especially when they're the expert at the environment and you're from a completely different area and have no idea what's going on around you most of the time.
You dumb ass. So we go to explore the vortex and all of a sudden, Karya runs up to us. As we notice the vortex is disappearing, Karya runs up to us and she's like, oh my god, Viramdra went to the shallow waters to investigate because he had this theory that that's where something was going to pop up. But then as soon as he went into the water, the tides came in and took him under. And we're like, god damn it.
Like that idiot, that dumbass bitch.
Literally, like any name I could come up with, I was saying in that moment. And Karya is like, I wanted to save him myself, but I'm not a good swimmer. And I was like, why did you come on this journey?
Yeah.
Like,
did you even try? to even try.
But Mualani does save Viramdra, and he's like, why did you save me? You were right. You missed your chance. The vortex is gone. You shouldn't have saved me. And Mualani's like, bro, what did I tell you?
Problems.
She's like, I said no one dies on my watch. Like,
that's when you get like the full picture of how unhinged he is, and that he's definitely going through something big that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So Mualani's like, listen, we don't know when those nodes are going to be ready to be used again. So let's make camp for the night. We'll eat, sleep, relax, and then try again in the morning, hopefully.
Listen to our 20,000 Mora record.
Yeah.
Yes, in our 200,000 Mora tent.
I'm sorry, but that tent looks so raggedy for 200K.
Listen, you don't know what it looks like on the inside.
You can see inside it.
You think you can. It's all
it's
an
like
illusion.
There's like a portal. It's a mirage, and you like go through it and you're actually like in the TARDIS.
Yes, exactly. It's actually, you know, in Buffy, that episode where they go in the portal and there's the eye.
Oh my God. No, that's terrible. That would be terrible.
But it watches over you.
Oh, it protects you.
It protects you, yeah.
And it's Renova.
And it's Renova. So it just, you're dead. Like, sorry. We'll miss you. So Karya and Mualani make us a meal. And then Paimon hears some weird noises and she gets scared. And that's when Mualani's like, I'll put on my 20K record for you. And she's like, yeah, you know, my parents or like someone in her family told her about like the record player and having the music. And she's like, you know, this is why it's important to trust traditions and customs that are passed down from your ancestor.
This is the part that I hated.
When she asks the purpose of a journey.
Well, specifically, it's because she says her parents taught her that, you know, a lot of valuable information is hidden in their customs. So it's always better to trust your traditions. And I strongly disagree. But, you know, I understand like the philosophical idea of like, yeah, there is hidden wisdom within a lot of customs. Like, I get that. But I also think it's important to acknowledge like how harmful and dangerous traditions can be. So I think they could have done a little better with that messaging in this whole quest. Like, I think they could have driven home the idea behind it without this line about how it's important to trust your traditions and be traditional. It's like, no, traditions are terrible sometimes.
Yeah. And also, I think it's, again, important to remember here, too, that, like, for Mualani, she has grown up with only war. And a lot of the traditions that are being passed down to her are safekeeping things, like how to keep yourself safe, which is not the traditions being passed down to us, right? Like, unfortunately, it's a fortunate and an unfortunate all at the same time. Like, our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents aren't passing down, you know, this is how you survive in case you get trampled by antelope.
Right.
In my days, this was how we got ate by mountain lions. And this is how we protected ourselves. And make sure that you always play Prince to scare away the eagles at night.
Did you hear that?
Definitely what you do not do.
What about Bjork?
Oh my God, that calls the evil spirits.
No, Bjork's such a good person.
Hello?
Especially when she like punched that reporter in the face.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
I believe in Bjork.
I love Bjork.
She's an asshole.
I have no idea how nice she is. I actually have heard that she's not nice at all.
Oh, I know nothing about her. Just that Katya was Bjork on what is that? And on Drag Race when they play the celebrities.
Oh yeah, Snatch Games.
Snatch Games. I thought it was Snatch Games and then I didn't say it.
I also didn't, by the way, Tiff, I also didn't like the what is the purpose of a journey part, really, just because it's like overly cheesy. Like, it's like, we get it. Like, we get it. It's like the purpose of your journey is the journey itself. Like, oh, I've never heard that before.
But we know that that's just Mualani. That's her, like, MO is cheesy camp.
Yeah, but she's not really that cheesy before now. You know what I mean? Like, she's very like positive and upbeat and like warm, but I don't know, like this whole moral that they're exploring with this quest, it just seems like so trite.
I think it works if you're from the people of the Springs. and it doesn't work anywhere else, which is why Viramdra and Karya are having a hard time with it too.
Yeah, I mean, Viramdra is such an ass.
Because it's kind of like you said, like they are showing that like his logic is beating out her customs and like at times, and maybe if we were in Sumeru, we should be listening to Viramdra.
Mm-hmm.
But we're learning that things are different here because the ley lines are different and the abyss attacks every other week. But Mualani then continues and talks a little bit about the first chief of the tribe and reminding us again that he created the island that the people of the springs are settled on and that he founded the tribe itself. And then she realizes that she's kind of getting too dark in her conversations and that maybe she's dragging down the mood. And she decides that we should have a bonfire party, in which case Viramdra is like, what are the rules for a bonfire party? Like, I'll do whatever you say, I guess. And she's like, bro, there are no rules except to have fun. And we decide to play a word game where she asks what the journey is all about. And I will say that Karya and Viramdra have some interesting answers. Karya admits that this is really her first time traveling, which made sense since she can't swim. And she says that the meaning of a journey to her is finding true companionship, which I thought was sweet since there's kind of a romance line between her and Viramdra at this point. Like, I feel like you're getting the hint that someone has a crush on someone.
Yeah.
And we all agree with her about finding true companionship. Viramdra, on the other point, says goals and dreams in life are about the results, and that our life is the journey to finding those results.
Mm-hmm.
Once you achieve your results that you want, there's really no need to have a journey anymore. And he explains that before this trip, he had a research paper stolen from him, and then it made him feel like his journey to doing that paper was obsolete and didn't matter, and that nothing he had done mattered anymore. So now we're like, oh, academia trauma.
Yeah, and like first he's sort of philosophizing about the first chief and why the first chief stopped adventuring after finding the island, because he thinks that the first chief found, like, reached the ultimate result, which was this mysterious island. And so he just assumes that reaching the ultimate result makes future journeys meaningless. And then that's when he reveals, like, that his colleagues stole his research. And part of the reason that he needs to now get this ultimate result is because it will recontextualize his research getting stolen, because he will have surpassed that to reach better results than the one that got stolen.
Yes. And it's another eye roll moment because it's kind of like Karya over here is basically saying we're going to fall in love on this journey. Mm-hmm. And you're over here being like, I will do better than the fucker who fucked me over.
And Paimon's like, I want food.
Yeah, he's like kind of maniacal.
Paimon wanting food, yes, but maniacal also, yes. And I think with Viramdra, you kind of can see how dangerous the academia is.
Yeah.
And you can see how people go down the Zandik road.
Yeah, maybe not quite that far, but
I don't know, man.
But yeah, it definitely, the academia has like twisted a lot of people. It's like warped some minds.
Mm-hmm.
I did love Paimon being like, it's about food and treasure. Oh yeah, and traveling with your companions.
Yeah. And while Traveler doesn't give like a full answer, they like start thinking about their sibling.
Yes. And you start seeing that, like, the Traveler, like, kind of meditating on the smaller moments of the journey, like within the different regions. Mm-hmm. So you can tell that the Traveler is like kind of starting to realize that the journey itself, like the journey to find their sibling, has become more about the journey itself than actually finding our sibling.
Yes.
Lies we tell ourselves when we can't find our sibling.
I know. So do you think that this is setting up the ending of the game in a way of like they're trying to like make sure we're not disappointed if we don't get reunited with their sibling?
Yeah.
Like, are they setting us up for a sad ending?
I do think they're trying to say that maybe being with our sibling is an end game.
Yeah, right?
Like, we might find our sibling, but they might die or some shit. And we should just be ready for that because maybe that's not the point.
Right.
What if in the end your sibling gets taken away in a hot air balloon?
I'll literally quit the game anyway.
Wait, a hot air balloon?
Yeah, because, well, there's two sides to it. It was the Wizard of Oz, but also she hates the hot air balloons in Natlan.
I hate them so much. I'll be like, good fucking riddance if he goes off in one of those.
It's not like they could get out if they wanted to.
You're stuck for forever in those things.
You are stuck in that balloon. There's a force field around it. You cannot leave.
Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
And you can never see the top. When you're on it, you can never see the top.
No, you could just have to watch people die in below you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, my meter's going up, but not in a good way, in the death toll kind of way. But anyway, Mualani then finishes up saying, if the goal of your journey is just to find the destination, then you should just go home. And she says that's really the mentality of the people of the Springs.
She says, there's a saying among the people of the spring. I hated this part. There's a saying among the people of the Springs. If the goal of a journey is to reach your destination, you never should have left the house to begin with.
Yeah.
It's like rolling my eye.
Yeah. But whatever, we go to bed, and the next day we wake up and we see that Viramdra and Karya have already helped Mualani, and that they spent the morning turning on the nodes again and getting all the spirit ways going, and that the whirlpool is back. This time Viramdra listens and we all dive into the whirlpool, and Paimon's like, I swallowed water.
Well, she notoriously can't swim.
Yes, another one.
She drowned in a puddle.
That's true. At the beginning of the game, she is drowning.
Yeah, in a puddle.
When we go into this cave, we're traveling and we keep going lower and lower. We are splunking into the lava pools, basically.
Splunking.
And as we continue to travel deeper, we start to see a strange golden light, and we decide to make our way toward it, doing our best to stay safe despite the fact that this is an unstable cave system. At one point, Mualani is like, all right, maybe we should look around, and Viramdra's like, yes, I'm gonna go take environmental samples. I was like, all right, Albedo, chill.
I do appreciate that they scientifically explained how we went down a whirlpool and ended up in a cave, which was that, the caves were made by volcanic activity. And when we used the spirit way, it affected the flow of lava, which created the holes that caused the whirlpools. But, I do have questions about how the hell we got out at the end, but that's a different story.
Well, the power of friendship and the power of pyro are definitely on our side.
Yeah.
It's the power of lava.
And this is when Mualani looks and sees spinel fruit. And Paimon's like, why is there a plant down here? And she's like, oh, this is pretty normal for spinel fruit. But then as she looks at it, she's like, wait, this doesn't look like normal spinel fruit. This looks like the one on the talisman that Uncle Nu gave us. And this is when Mualani starts to wonder if Uncle Nu has actually been here before.
Mm-hmm. Like, that hoe has been holding out on me.
Mm-hmm.
And she also notes at this point that the lava in the area isn't stable and that we're not going to be able to stay here very long. Mualani then looks at the map that we have and sees that the light on the map matches the location of the golden light we see. And Viramdra is hyped. He is convinced that that light we see is the island. And when we start questioning his reasoning, he's like, I'm from Spatamod. I know what I'm talking about. There must be an island on top of the lava with vulcanite ore, and it's gonna be priceless and no one will laugh at me and blah, blah, blah. And Mualani's like, hate to burst your bubble, but we cannot go there. We need to go home. The map has this riddle on it that says when you see golden light, you need to turn away. My intuition, which has been right this entire time, is telling me that we need to turn around and go home. And he's like, no. And she's like, I thought we trusted each other, Viramdra. I thought we got through this. And Karya's like, bro, don't do it. But he runs off.
Don't you think that this is weird how these clues are shared with the public, and when we talk to, what's her name? Amina, at the beginning, she's like, yeah, there's, she's telling us about the mysterious island and how there's a glowing light that is where you can find all of this treasure. But then also Mualani has known the whole time that when you see the golden light, you have to run away. So Mualani basically had the information that we would not get any treasure this whole time.
Well, it seems like she really just noticed it at that point. Like, wait a second. According to this map, almost like they put the puzzle together, and she was just like, wait a second, we can't go near there. This tells us to go the other way.
Yeah, maybe she thought the treasure was hidden 10 paces south of the
right. I also think that Viramdra has that same notion of oh, you just happen to see that now. like, girl, bye, as he runs off. And as he runs away, of course, the ground starts shaking and monsters appear and the lava is reactivating and rising. So we stay with Karya while Mualani conveniently uses her surfboard that can ride on the lava for a short amount of time to go save Viramdra.
Now, that is a hell of a surfboard.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, my surfboard did not work as well.
Oh, no.
I fell in that lava a lot. This part of the quest took a really long time for me.
No.
You're like, my surfboard caught on fire.
Yeah.
So we finally catch up to Viramdra, and he's seeing the vulcanite stones. And he's like, I just need to get over this lava to get to it. And then I will bring a piece home, and I'm going to be rich and genius and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Mualani, take your fancy surfboard. Go get it. And she's like, no. If I risk going over there to get this rock, I'm not going to be able to save you and the rest of our friends. We're getting the fuck out of here. And she basically grabs him and forces him back to the others.
Yeah. He's acting fully insane at this point. Like, just like cuckoo bananas.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. He's back on his bullshit of like, you should have let me die, or you should have gotten the rock. Like, we didn't all have to live. And that's when Karya slaps him.
It's the best moment of the whole quest.
Yeah.
And Traveler has the funniest, like, mouth agape expression after she does it. She's like Drew Carey after the wig came off. Or he, depending on your Traveler.
And she basically is like, you are talented and you're going to succeed in your research because of that. And I'm not letting you risk your life because of that. And we're like, whoa, Karya, deep. And Mualani takes this moment to call on some Kolosaurs to help us, which I thought was very precarious considering she told us she couldn't speak their language earlier, but she was able to call upon them to get us out of there. But whatever the reason is, we take our Saurians out of the whirlpool and back onto land, in which case the first thing we hear again is Paimon going,
choking on more water. And I would love to know how we, I guess, leapt up on, like, we somehow leapt up from the bottom of the cave to the ceiling where there's no more water coming in, but the hole must still be there somehow. And then swam through the whirlpool
Mm-hmm.
to the shore.
Didn't we tell you to stop thinking about science, Brandon, and just think of following Mualani's intuition?
It was the power of pyro that did it.
Sorry, I'm being a little too Viramdra.
Oh my god, you are. Where's your Karya? Who's gonna slap you, B? So Viramdra, once we get to land, is very disappointed that we didn't find the island. But Mualani is like, rest assured, there's actually one more leg of the journey we have to take. And we end up returning to the statue of that first chief. And when Mualani touches it, words appear, and we're able to hear the story from the first chief himself. And we get a really cool cutscene showing our first chief of the tribe, who was a famous treasure hunter. And he basically says that, you know, his friends were starting to get sick and tired of his traveling, but he was able to convince them to go with him one more time to find a mysterious island / spelunking cave. And he basically got to the same point as us, where he saw the ore and the bright light, and he considered risking his life to go get it, but knew that if he did that, not only would he die probably, but more importantly, his friends would die. So just like us, and, you know, not to Viramdra's wants by any means, the chief also turned around and he faced a lot of disappointment and, you know, rumor mills and stuff when he returned to some of the people he knew treasureless. And this is what led him to stop being a treasure hunter and settle down and form the people of the Springs.
And what did he say? He realized that perhaps the ultimate treasure he had always been searching for had been right beside him the whole time.
The power of friendship.
And pyro.
He also, this is when we realized that the mysterious island is actually the island he built to build the tribe on.
Yeah. Mualani's like, oh yeah, like the coastlines have changed over the years. So when he first founded the tribe, it was the island.
It's like someone at the end of this quest realized they've been calling it an island, and then they're like, oh shit, this isn't an island. Let's make some shit up. Beach erosion.
Yeah, it was a very convenient little thing they
Yeah.
inserted.
Ugh.
At this point, Viramdra has kind of come to his senses. And he's like, the golden glow that I saw is probably a result of the lava rising and being dangerous. And I guess that the stones would have been impossible to get regardless. And he's very sad. And Mualani chooses to ignore his sad sap story and drags us all back to the tribe, where we go to see Uncle New and return to Talisman and ask him about his own possible journey. And this is where he admits to Mualani and us and our scholar friends that he actually has been there and that he did take the same journey, and that him and many other people like him who have made it to the island have chosen to not tell people they made it there, to keep the tradition a secret and keep it safe, and to not boast because they're really not here to get that recognition, which Viramdra does not understand. Uncle New also explains to us that the inscription that we saw at the end where we learned from the first chief only appears when exposed to volcanic dust. So unless you were over with the Ansan and you kept a jar of it, you really wouldn't be able to see these inscriptions unless you went spelunking.
There's a lot of disappearing stuff in this quest. There's the disappearing writing on the receipts. There's the disappearing glowing moss. And now there's this disappearing section of the inscription that's activated by volcanic dust.
It's too much for me.
I mean, it's too bad Paimon didn't pull out her Detective Paimon glasses.
Yeah.
No, she was too focused on death. She was traumatized by the hot air balloons and everything.
And almost drowning.
And almost drowning twice.
This is when Uncle New says that Koolau has been lying about going to the island very clearly, and that is why Koolau told the scholars to choose Mualani to go with as their guide, because he didn't think Mualani would be capable of finding the island since he wasn't able to, and she wouldn't be able to out him for his lies. So
there's not only another scammer in town, but he's also the number one guide of the tribe.
And this is, he kind of just explains that, guides like to keep this secret so that the new generations can still have this journey and adventure for themselves, which is, sweet but not sweet all at the same time. And Viramdra really struggles with this because he's so used to the academic culture of, boasting your results. But he promises that he will also keep this a secret, and then looks to Karya and is like, will you join me on my next research paper? And she teases him and makes it seem like she's not gonna. But ultimately, she says she'll go. Of course she will.
She's like, I'm a slave for him.
And this is when he says his new proposal is about something that's been with him all along. And this is when we're kind of like, ooh, is his research proposal about love or the power of friendship? I don't know.
Insert Brandon rolling his eyes behind them.
Meanwhile, you had Traveler and Paimon heart eyes about it. They were like, yes.
They did get a really funny look on their faces, sort of lids half closed, giving each other a knowing look, these two.
And so right as everything is wrapping up and, Uncle New lets Mualani hold on to that talisman so she could pass it on to a future guide, Koolau appears. And he's like, did you find it? And Mualani's like, no, we didn't, but I made 2 new friends along the way instead. And he just scoffs and he's like, ugh, as he walks away.
Yeah.
That's how the scene ends.
And then so when he leaves, we go with Mualani to take this goodbye photo together.
Yeah.
And that's the part where Traveler tells Mualani that, they understand what she means when she talks about the journey itself being more important than the result.
Yeah.
And of course I was like, ugh.
That's Traveler's way of going, because I'm never gonna find my sibling.
Yeah, exactly.
Never gonna find my sibling.
Or maybe the Traveler will have to choose between the sibling and, the people that they've met along the journey.
I think I'd pick the people at this rate. I mean, you have so many love interests now. Screw your brother. You can find love.
And the Traveler sibling is the freaking leader of the Abyss.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, I guess.
Yeah, we're not really sure if our sibling's going to end up being the big bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, why choose your sibling when you have a plethora of twinks to choose from?
That's right.
Come to Twink Tank.
Yeah, the Twink Tank would make you feel so much better if you lost your sibling.
Yeah, and we'll make it feel better. We got a drink special going on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So come on down,
What's
traveler.
what's the cocktail?
Oh, we're just giving out straight out shots.
Oh.
Buy one, get one.
Ooh, okay.
But if Mualani comes, we're upping the prices.
Wait, why? Oh, because she's rich. 'Cause she's rich.
Typically my rich guests, such as D. Luke and Ayato, they're too smart for that because they frequent bars all the time or own bars. But Mualani doesn't frequent bars that much. And I think we might be able to get it over on her until Sitlali shows up. So
It'd be like, Mualani, we have a tiki special.
yes. It's only 100,000 mora.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll give you a bendy straw.
We like suddenly all turn into Dory.
Yes, we all have pink hair all of a sudden. Our wigs come on. But that was the quest. And I enjoyed it. It was nice to learn a little bit more about Mualani through it, although we didn't learn too much. I did like that we dealt with Sumeran scholars the whole time. It was nice to see that like cross of the worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun, even though it was so corny, but even the parts that I hated, it was fun to like hate play it,
That being said, Kirara is giving me the kitten eyes. Not puppy dog eyes, but kitten eyes. Kitten cat eyes. She's like, please take the mail so I can leave.
She's like stretching by the door.
Yeah, so we're going to go over to our mail time. I think she was disappointed because, Melty wasn't here from Kake this time.
Yeah, she was spoiled.
So our first message this week is going to come from Travo, and they said, okay, question. Do you think Hoyo will have the guts to give us a disabled playable character? I know we have amputee characters like Yehoda and Skirk who are missing limbs, but I'm talking about characters who are either deaf or blind. I know some games like Wuthering Waves have a blind character, so do you think we could see some more representation like that in the future, or do you think Hoyo won't do it in fear of fans being upset?
I mean, I could see them doing it. I don't know if they will, but I could see them doing it. The thing is, what would shock me is if they did it and the character didn't have some kind of workaround around their disability. Like I could see them having a blind character, but like that character like sees through the eyes of a companion or pet or something.
Similar to like Columbina.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Columbina because she doesn't open her eyes. She just knows everything.
So I could see them doing it, but like, they would have some kind of workaround where like the person didn't need their eyesight for some reason.
I almost feel like Yehoda, not so much Skirk, because unless you deep dive into Skirk's lore, you don't know that she's missing limbs.
Yeah.
Like just from looking at her. I do think that Yehoda is possibly their toe in the water to see how people react to it. And I think Yehoda, I don't even think people realize that she is an amputee because they love her.
I did not even know.
Yeah, she's got the one arm MIA.
Yeah.
So I don't think a lot of people even notice that because they love her so much. They're just obsessed with the personality. But she does have her right arm as a robo arm from like, I guess, mid upper arm down. I will say too, this question was asked to us in our Discord server, and someone else in the server had said something about how there is like a trope of like a blind swordswoman in a lot of like games and shows.
Yes.
So if we get another character possibly from like Inazuma or in a future area, like they might bring that in. I think it would be really cool to see because especially with blind characters, you can bring in like the Oracle vibes that we do see with Dainsleif's brother. Of course, he has his eyes gouged out like Oedipus. What is his name again? I keep thinking Rerir and it's not Rerir. Vedderfolnir, who's one of the original 5 sinners for travelers who might not remember what we're talking about. Danes is a big bro, the Oracle. So I think it would be really cool to see. And I don't know if it's more so that Hoyo is afraid that fans will be upset by seeing disability, more so that Hoyo might be worried that they'll misrepresent the disability.
Right.
And then have angry fans.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that because you definitely need to get that right if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But I would love to see it. I would love it if they did it. And as long as they did it right. You know what I mean? Like actually like do it right and like represent the disability well and don't do like a cheap out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I would also love like a character in a wheelchair just because you could do like really cool stuff with wheelchair attacks. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, like Dorian or Jin would be like they kind of already do something like that. Like when we had the NPCs, we had the one who was in Yoimiya's story quest. She was in a wheelchair and wasn't what's her face in a wheelchair for a bit too? The Elazar lady.
Oh, Dunyarzad?
Dunyarzad. I was gonna call her Deirdith. Deirdith's the other one. That was a throwback. We talk about her once and she's stuck in my head. Dunyarzad I forgot about. Yeah, but still not playable. But they were there.
Yeah.
Which at least is a step in the right direction, to some inclusion.
Again, I hope like if they do it, they make it to where the disability is treated well and is like a part of like the character's story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like, oh, like they're blind, but they fight better than everyone else. They have like mechanical eyes that see for them and basically are not blind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want it should be done truly.
Yeah.
This is my blind character.
Yeah. And they like go through the world as a blind person.
I will say we do have a blind NPC in Monster Glory.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's nice that we do have some NPC representation, as you guys pointed out, with the other characters as well. But it'd be nice to have a playable character that could kick ass.
Yeah.
So thank you, Travo, for the question.
Thanks, Travo.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question comes from Beefy of the Shade Chamber. And she said, question for the tots in the crowd. Who is your Genshin Glup Shito? And I'm going to explain that better in a minute. She says, which minor McNobody background character gets you so hyped even when literally no one else remembers them? My Gulp Shito is, of course, Mikoshi Chio, which is why I was so excited to do the Emblem of Severed Fate episode with the tots. But I want to hear what yours are. So, a Glut Shippo is basically a character, specifically in the Star Wars universe, that is known to hardcore fans, but like someone who is watching it might not know, if you're just like a casual watcher. So this is your Genshin version of that.
Yeah. And I think Glup Shido was originally said as a joke, right? Like every time there's a new Star Wars thing, people are like, oh my God, Glup Shido's back. And they were like making fun of how the names sound in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's also like this little shit character.
Yeah.
Like not important character.
Yeah.
I have a few, so I don't want to go first because I'm going to break the rules.
I have one that rises above the others, but I did write down a few.
We're the worst.
I have one.
All right, Tiff, go first.
Mine's Isaac, the little boy who dressed up as Nahida.
The little boy in drag.
Yeah, little boy in drag. Integral part of the Archon and Sumeru, more so. He did more than Nilu did.
Yes.
Rest his life. My other one that I kind of thought of who I'm obsessed with is Rue, but I don't know how much he counts as. Like, I think Rue.
Yeah. Yeah. It was hard to decide like who's at the level of Glup Shido.
Yeah. And I figured Isaac because it's like you get his name, but that's all. Like that one little bit.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I don't know if Xavier counts as a Glup Shido because he's in so many things. And the same goes for Rana and Sumeru. Because I get really excited about Rana, but if people played that world quest, they're very familiar with her. But and then I also said Anna in Mondstadt, the one who's like very sickly, but who gets cured and then becomes an adventurer. Has like a whole storyline. I love that. And then I also said Lyodochka, aka the new Gendo Ringo in Inazuma. Remember that Fatui spy who basically swapped places with the Shumatsuban spy as a shrine, like pretending to be a shrine maiden.
Oh shit, yeah.
And is just living her life as a shrine maiden now because she wanted to leave the Fatui. Love her. But my ultimate that I want to know so much more about is Cinnamon. Who the fuck is Cinnamon? Give us more information about Cinnamon. Also, I want to know if she can pole dance.
She can.
Yeah, I mean, with that name.
Canon, yes.
I heard that she's been in the Twink Tank before, so you just gotta start hanging out there more.
Yes. I gotta go on Cinnamon Nights.
Cinnamon Nights, the second Tuesday of every month.
There's a lot going on the second Tuesdays.
Listen, we have to make money. People like a gimmick.
That is the most hopping night at the Twink Tank is the second Tuesday.
Yeah, it makes the other Tuesdays quite boring. So that's just when our casuals come in.
Yeah.
All right. So I have too many. And this is a limited list, mind you. So most of them are in Mondstadt, but I do have some that aren't. So my Mondstadt ones, first off, are Adeline and Elzer, the employees at the Dawn Winery.
Those are good.
I ship them. Like, they're 100% Diluc and Kaya's aunt and uncle that are secretly together. Elzer, we know, kind of runs the winery, and Adeline might be a cannibal. But we also know that they're both in the know about Diluc and Kaya and, like, what they do. Like, Adeline 100% knows that Diluc is the Dark Knight hero. So I have a lot of questions, and I'd like to see more of, like, that dynamic with the Ravendagnyr kids of Diluc and Kaya with them. In Mondstadt as well, of course, you have Timaeus. I love Timaeus when he had to be carried by Albedo on the wing glider. I will never forget. I'm also very dedicated to his romance with Jinger, the original perfume lady, and the only perfume lady that matters.
Ooh.
Sorry, M. I love him. I think he is just such a dork in, like, every essence of the way. Another Mondstadter is Vile. If you don't know Vile, she is an informant that kind of walks around Mondstadt, and she has given me my favorite Diluc lore, where she talks about the fact that Diluc actually tried Firewater once to decide whether or not he was going to sell it at Angel's Share, and she had never seen him that drunk before, and he woke up the next day and said, absolutely not. The people of Mondstadt cannot handle this. But Vile has a lot of, like, details depending on the time of day and where you find her. She has 2 separate locations, so you can go talk to her to get some information. I would love to know more about her. I want her to get more information, more stories. Like, why is she should be hanging out with, like, Dahlia, you know, the gossip queens. But my last Mondstadt one, and then I only have 2 after this, is Iraq. The ex-investigator of the Knights, very heavily mentioned in the manga and also recently in a different story quest that I won't say too much about. But from the manga, like, I've just wanted to beat the shit out of this guy for so long. And I did recently do the story quest that talks about him, and I want to beat the shit out of him more. He's hurt Diluc. He's hurt others that I will not say, and I just want to throw hands with that man. My other 2, very quickly, are Yanyer, who is the first female treasure hoarder that we talked about during the Chi of Your episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
episode 123. You know, we just get so much lore about her and how, you know, she's originally from Inazuma, and how she kind of, like, left her friends to go become a treasure hoarder in Leeway, and how, you know, eventually she is involved in an abyssal heist that goes south and all of this jazz. So I think it's cool that there's some treasure hoarder lore out there, and maybe one day Yehoda will be tied in with her. And my last one, and maybe, like, she's definitely in my top 3, is Salsa. I love her.
Oh, cinnamon and salsa.
Cinnamon and salsa. For those of you who don't remember Salsa, she is an NPC in Fontaine who has OCD. And her parents are like, you don't have OCD. Stop reading books. They're putting lies into your head. But she 100% does have OCD. She is self-diagnosed. She is an artiste, and her parents basically ignore her while they're out working. And there's just a whole quest line with her, and she's such a cutie. I adore her. And yeah, those are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which, honestly, I feel like this was light for me. Because I talked to all the NPCs. I also liked Adorno, but, you know, whatever. Won't say anything else about Adorno. But yeah, thank you, Beefy, for the question.
Thanks, Beefy.
Thank you, Beefy.
We would love to know what other travelers think and who their Glupshido is. So definitely either let us know in the comments on this episode, or let us know if you join our Discord server, which is 18+, linked here in the description of this episode. Or, you know, you can always feel free to email albedo@talesoftevatpod@gmail.com, or message us on social media. We're on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. We're also on Blue Sky and Threads and YouTube under those same names. So, you know, let us know in the comment section wherever you want. Travelers can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch store, where all proceeds going to making it so that we can afford to not have gimmicks at the Twink Tank and make sure that we're able to maintain and run this podcast each week. That includes paying for our editing softwares, web hosting, and everything in between, including maybe, just maybe, a Diet Pepsi, or after going to Brandon's this weekend, a diet Sunkist every now
Hell
and
yeah.
then.
Delicious.
Oh my God. I had forgotten how much I liked diet Sunkist.
One of like the top tier diet sodas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't taste diet at all.
If it wasn't so acidic, I would drink it all the time.
On a personal note from the Tots, I wanted to let everyone know that we have officially finished our Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch that we have been talking about for years on this podcast. So Tiff and Brandon are rewatching it with me and two of our other friends, and me and the other two friends. It's our first time watching it, and we finally finished Buffy. And I'm empty on the inside. Especially after the passing of Anthony Stewart Head, R.I.P., who played Giles, for those who don't know. So our Buffy is done. We are still watching Angel, though. We have a few episodes or a season left of that.
A season, yeah.
A season left. So the journey is coming to an end, folks, and I am deeply saddened.
But it's fine, because once you get to the end, you can just start it over. Watch it again.
Yeah.
And I do think it's more fun to rewatch it because you know all the big beats, you know what's going to happen. So you notice like all the little things so much more.
Okay, that's true. I'll have to check that out then. I don't know if I'm doing a rewatch right away, though.
Yeah, I'd give it some time.
That being said, travelers, that is all the time we have for today. In our next episode, we are going to be continuing our journey in the desert because every season we talk about this goddamn desert. And when we talk about the Dirge of Bilkis, aka the part 2 to Jek's storyline. Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We will see you next time.
Bye, volcanology nerds.
No,
I hope to get some